I used to worry about growing old alone. But then I met my husband. He was calm, kind, and made me feel safe. After 6 months of dating, we got married and moved into a cozy home. We respected each other and shared everything. Our life was peaceful, and I felt lucky. But that happiness didn't last forever. Trouble was waiting for me, and it came in the form of my husband's family. I had no idea that my biggest struggle in life would not be with work or money, but with them. One day, my husband's parents announced their divorce. He wasn't surprised because they had been unhappy for years. We didn't think it would affect us, but we were wrong. My mother-in-law had never liked me. She complained about my cooking, my clothes, even how I cleaned. But after the divorce, she became worse. She and my sister-in-law, who was 40 and still unemployed, started depending on my husband for money. I had a bad feeling that they were planning something. And soon, I would find out just how right I was. One morning, at 5 a.m., our doorbell rang loudly. Half asleep, I opened the door and saw my mother-in-law and sister-in-law standing there with big bags. They were smiling. "What do you need this early?" I asked. My mother-in-law walked past me and said, "You're late. Let us in." My heart sank. "What's with the bags?" I asked, confused. She looked at me as if I was stupid. "What do you mean?" "We came to live here." Before I could stop them, they pushed their way inside. And just like that, my nightmare began. I was still trying to wake up when my husband appeared, shocked to see them. "What are you doing here?" he asked. My mother-in-law pretended to be sad. "We have nowhere else to go." My husband hesitated, feeling guilty. I wanted to scream at him to say no, but instead he said, "You can stay for a month." I knew it was a mistake. From that moment, our home was no longer ours. They treated it like their own, and we were just the ones paying for it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I knew things would get worse. The next day, my mother-in-law started acting like the queen of the house. She criticized my cooking, demanded food on time, and even complained about how I cleaned. "Why is dinner late?" she snapped. My sister-in-law, meanwhile, begged my husband for money. "You can't let your sister go without, right?" she whined. They did nothing all day, just watched TV and ordered me around. My patience was running out. My husband comforted me when he got home, but during the day, I was alone with them. And they knew I had no one to help me. They made my life miserable. If I didn't listen to them, they would call me disrespectful. "You don't care about family," my mother-in-law would say. My sister-in-law laughed behind her. "You should have married someone else," she joked. They never helped, never paid for anything, and made me feel worthless. My husband saw through their tricks, but they acted sweet when he was around. He tried talking to them, but they just pretended to listen. I knew one thing for sure. They weren't planning to leave. And I had no idea how to get rid of them. One evening, I caught my sister-in-law taking money from my purse. "What are you doing?" I yelled. She pouted. "Just borrowing." That was it. "You're 40, get a job," I shouted. My mother-in-law ran in, furious. "How dare you speak like that?" I clenched my fists. "This is my house, not yours." But I knew words wouldn't make them leave. They saw my kindness as weakness. I had to be smart. If I wanted them out, I needed a plan. A plan that would get rid of them for good. My husband had to go on a business trip for a week. "I don't want to leave you with them," he said. "I'll be fine," I lied. But I knew this was my chance. As soon as he left, my mother-in-law smirked. "Now that he's gone, you should take care of us properly." I bit my tongue. I had to stay calm. I had to act like they were winning. But inside, I was planning my move. I would trick them into leaving, and this time, they wouldn't come back. One night, I smiled at them. "You both look tired. Why don't you take a trip? I'll pay." My sister-in-law's eyes widened. A vacation? For real? My mother-in-law nodded. It's the least you can do for us. I nodded. Of course. A whole week at a luxury spa. They were too greedy to say no. The next morning, I booked their trip, packed their bags, and sent them off. The moment they left, I moved fast. My husband came home that night, and together, we prepared for the final step of my plan. While they were relaxing at the spa, we emptied the house. All their things were packed and sent to my father-in-law's place. Then, we called in a demolition team. By the time they returned, the house was covered in construction sheets. My phone rang. "What is happening?" my mother-in-law shrieked. I calmly replied, "Oh, the house is being demolished." Silence, then screaming. "Where's our stuff?" my sister-in-law yelled. "At your father's," I said. "We're moving." And just like that, their nightmare began. They rushed over, furious. My husband met them at the door. "You can't do this!" my mother-in-law cried. "We're family." My husband's face was cold. "A family doesn't use each other." My sister-in-law sobbed, but he didn't care. "We're done. Don't ever contact us again." They had no choice. They were finally out of our lives. For the first time in months, I felt free. But their problems were just beginning. With no home and no money, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were lost. At first, they went to stay with relatives, but their bad attitudes got them kicked out. Nobody wanted to deal with their selfish ways. My mother-in-law had no choice but to take a cleaning job at a motel. My sister-in-law still refused to work properly, taking small jobs but spending money as soon as she got it. Without savings, she had to move from one cheap motel to another. Meanwhile, my husband and I were finally at peace in our new home. We had won. We moved to a beautiful house closer to my husband's job. It was quiet, comfortable, and completely ours. For the first time in months, I woke up feeling safe. No one was bossing me around. No one was asking for money. I could breathe. The nightmare was over. My husband never spoke to his mother or sister again. "They made their choices," he said firmly. I knew it wasn't easy for him, but he also knew they would never change. We focused on building our future, without toxic family members dragging us down. One day, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. I didn't want to answer, but curiosity got the best of me. "We need your help," she said, her voice weaker than before. "We have nowhere to go." For a moment, I felt a tiny bit of pity. But then I remembered everything they had done. The insults, the demands, the way they treated me like a servant in my own house. I took a deep breath and replied, "I'm sorry, but that's not my problem anymore." And for the first time, I meant it. I hung up. I later heard from my father-in-law that my mother-in-law was still working, but barely making ends meet. My sister-in-law finally realized no one would take care of her forever and had to find a full-time job. They were struggling, but it was their own doing. If they had been kinder, they wouldn't have ended up like this. But life has a way of teaching people hard lessons. My husband and I, on the other hand, were planning something exciting, building our dream home on the land where our old house once stood. As construction began, I stood in front of the empty lot and smiled. This was a new beginning, a home where no one could take advantage of us, a place where we could be happy, free from the past. My husband squeezed my hand. "We did the right thing," he said. And I knew he was right. Some battles aren't fought with words or anger. They're won with smart decisions. I had finally reclaimed my life, and no one would take it from me again.